Hi, this is Matt Swartz and welcome to vlog 32 here in Gilbert, Arizona at one of the parks. So I've spent probably the past week and a half thinking about this video of what do I say, and I want to add something into the discussion that's helpful. So just a little bit of my story, context-wise. Grew up as the youngest of 5 guys, a family in Chicago. The thought of going to a high school that my other brothers went to, a little overwhelming. This was the age of desegregation within Chicago public schools. So the opportunity came up for me to go to a predominantly black magnet high school called Kenwood Academy. And it was an amazing opportunity for me, but it was also the first time in my life that I stepped into an environment that I was in the minority. And I think for me, one of the comments this past week as my daughter Emily and I have been talking is she referred to a quote by Martin Luther King that said, "Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection." A friend of mine in high school, his name was George, and I think as 2 high school guys, different colors, different backgrounds, trying to walk through the journey of how do we identify how color affected our relationship. And he said something to me that goes along with this quote that I've never forgotten. He said, "Matt, racism is not when you do something that's racist. Racism can also be when you stand by and say nothing." I've been thinking through just this past week of how do I, as a white male who understands that I have grown up with incredible privilege, add something helpful into this discussion. So I want to give you 2 thoughts that I've been thinking through this past week. As my daughter shared that quote from Martin Luther King, it also reminded me of a quote that I've heard years ago, that the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. I have tried to be very purposeful in this time and all of my discussion to not be indifferent. To not be, just because I live in the predominantly white suburb of Phoenix, that just because it's not affecting me, then I don't need to worry about it. But understanding that my experience is very much affected by the fact of where I live. And so engage is the first word that I've chosen to use in this, is to engage in the discussions, even if they're uncomfortable. Because anytime I engage, I'm able to see my blind spots where I'm not clearly seeing what I just have not allowed myself to see. So I'm choosing to engage. But number 2 is I'm also choosing to evaluate. Are there ways that I can be more helpful in trying to move out of the indifferent category into some level of connection that's helpful to move this conversation continually forward? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How do I engage and how do I step into connection in ways that are helpful and adds to the dialogue? There's no easy answers to anything like race or to poverty or culture. There's no easy answers. I think for me, what I do think there are is great conversations waiting to happen. Conversations where I'm willing to acknowledge that my background and my experience only gives me a limited perspective. And I want more perspective. I want to see more sides of this discussion, which means I can't disconnect with people that are like me or people that I know and already know what they're going to say. And so it's opening myself up to new dialogues, new discussions. I hope this has been helpful. I'll be really honest with you. I still don't know that I've verbalized everything I wanted to say today, but I do know I would rather say something than let this time go by and not at least put something out there to add to the discussion. Maybe comment below on some of the things you're working through in this whole season. Like this video if you think it was helpful. Maybe share it, subscribe, and let's keep going on the journey. I pray for peace. Peace not only just relationally and physically, but also spiritually, that would come over our country and come over our lives. Look forward to talking to you again next week.